So today I want to talk about an industry that Indian investors are really excited about. Now this is the wind energy industry within the broader renewable energy sector. Now these companies have been catching a lot of attention and it's hard not to see why. Now renewable energy is huge right now, especially with the government strongly pushing for clean energy alternatives. Now the wind energy sector has had its shares of ups and downs, there's no denying that, but despite these challenges, investors keep a close eye on it because they see a lot of potential. Now, the big question is, can this sector remain strong and really take advantage of the growing demand for clean energy? Or will regulations and policy changes throw a wrench in the works? That's what we need to figure out. And in this episode, we'll try to answer those questions for you. Let's begin. You're watching Informed Investor and initiated by Equentis. Now, let's talk about something we're all seeing a lot these days, the big push towards renewable energy. Now, in simple terms, this means shifting from traditional fossil fuels like coal to using natural sources like solar, wind, and other renewables to generate power. Now, the reason the government is so focused on that is that it's cleaner, more sustainable, and frankly, it's the future. Plus, it also saves us a lot of money in the long run. Now, India has some really ambitious targets. We are aiming for net zero carbon emissions by 2070 and to meet 50% of our electricity needs from renewable sources by 2030. Now, this is exactly why companies like Waaree Renewables, Inox Wind, KPI Green Energy, Suzlon Energy, etc. are getting so much attention. They're right in the middle of this big shift towards a greener future. Now, we've already seen some serious move towards renewables. Over the last decade, there's been a huge increase in how much renewable energy is contributing to India's total installed capacity. Now, back in fiscal year 16, renewables made up about 29% of our energy mix, but by fiscal year 24, that number had shot up to 43.1%. Now, that's a pretty significant jump. Now, currently, solar power leads the way in our energy segment, contributing for 18.5%, followed by large hydro at 10.6% and wind power at 10.4%. Now, renewable power generation capacity has also been growing at a CAGR of 10% between fiscal year 16 and fiscal year 20, and India now has around 190 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity as of fiscal year 24. But here's the exciting part. The government has plans to increase this 190 gigawatts to 500 gigawatts by 2030. This would more than double our current installed capacity, putting India on track to become one of the world's largest markets for renewables. So you can see there are plenty of opportunities for investors in this space. And on the back of the massive growth, renewable energy stocks are surging. Now take Suzlon Energy for example. Its stock has increased investors' wealth in just the past year, delivering over 167% returns. Now meanwhile, Inox Wind has seen an even more impressive rally with gains of 333% over the last year. Now, both Inox Wind and Suzlon Energy are focused on wind energy, which is just one part of the larger renewable energy picture. Like I mentioned earlier, we can generate power through a variety of renewable resources, hydro, solar, and of course wind. Now, each of these plays a unique role in helping us move away from fossil fuels. For instance, hydro uses the power of water, solar captures energy from the sun, wind takes advantage of those breezy days to generate electricity. While Inox and Suzlon are leaders in wind energy, don't forget there are other companies making huge strides in solar, hydro, and other renewables too. Now, this diversity makes renewable energy an exciting space for investors. Also, it's worth noting that among all the renewable energy sources, say wind, hydro, biofuels, and solar, it's solar energy that's leading the charge. Now, thanks to India's geography, we have a massive advantage here. With over 300 sunny days a year in many parts of the country, the potential for solar energy is enormous. In fact, India has become one of the top markets for solar power globally. Now, to give you a sense of just how fast this is moving, according to Mercom India, 15 gigawatts of solar PV capacity was added in the first half of 2024 alone. That's a 282% increase from the same period in 2023. Now, even though there was a bit of a dip in quarter 2, it still represents the second highest solar PV additions this decade. Now, this incredible growth highlights the immense opportunity for companies in the solar space. Now, coming back to the wind energy sector. In fiscal year 24, India has made a significant leap in wind energy by installing 3.25 gigawatts of new capacity, a 43% increase from the 2.7 gigawatt added in 2022. Now, this brought our total wind capacity to 45.9 gigawatt. However, while we've seen strong growth over the last couple of years, it's not always been rosy for the wind sector. Now let's talk about those ups and downs in wind energy sector, because while the potential is definitely there, the actual growth has been kind of all over the place. So wind energy has seen a lot of fluctuations over the years, and a big part of that is due to government policies and of course the pandemic. Now back in fiscal year 11, we added 3 gigawatts of wind energy, which was great. But by 2013, the number dropped to 1.7 gigawatt. Now this is because the government stopped some key incentives that made wind projects more attractive. Now when they brought back some of those incentives, say in 2014, we saw the numbers climb again to 2 gigawatts. Now from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 17, things were looking even better. We were adding about 4.4 gigawatts every year on average. Now this was on the back of favorable government policies. In the Indian wind power sector, the government uses a system called feed-in tariffs. Now these are fixed rates set by regulators, meaning companies knew exactly how much they would earn for the energy they produce. Now this made it easier for investors to commit their money. Now along with this, the sector also benefited from other supportive measures like faster depreciation for equipment, incentive based on energy generation, and renewable energy certificates. Now these policies help grow wind power projects, especially for companies that used wind energy for their own operations. However, new policies came in. Now the sector went through a major transition from the feed-in tariff regime to a reverse e-auction system. Now, feed-in tariff regime was essentially a more stable, predictable pricing mechanism where companies knew upfront what they would get for the energy they produced. But with reverse auctions, the lowest bidder wins the contract, which led to increased competition and in some cases, lower margins for companies. Now, the shift in policy resulted in a significant slowdown in wind capacity additions. Companies were facing uncertainty and it became tougher to plan and execute projects. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, which hit the industry hard. It slowed down project execution even further and added another layer of challenge, such as supply chain disruptions and a lack of labor availability. Now, for companies in the wind energy sector, this combination of policy changes and the pandemic led to financial stress. With projects getting delayed and revenues being hit hard, they had to rely more on debt to sustain operations, which resulted in them accumulating debt over this period. So between the policy shift and the pandemic, the industry faced a rough patch. However, the wind sector now has made a comeback. A big part of this resurgence is thanks to favorable government policies. Now, for one, the government has done away with reverse auctions, making it easier for companies to develop new projects without so much competition driving prices down. They've also started holding auctions specifically for wind and hybrid projects, which is encouraging new developments and bringing in more investment. Now, looking ahead, the long-term outlook for India's wind industry is strong, especially as we shift towards low-carbon, clean technologies. So even though the road's been a bit bumpy, the wind energy sector is set to play a big role in India's clean energy push. Alright, let's talk about the major player in India's wind energy sector, which is Suzlon and Inox. Now, both companies are deeply involved in designing, developing, and manufacturing wind turbine generators. Now, both companies have been instrumental in driving the growth of wind energy in India. And just like a roller coaster, their histories have seen some significant highs and lows, influenced by both internal decisions and external pressures. Now, let's talk about the industry's revenue growth. Now, if you take a look at the performance over the years, the industry was doing pretty well until events like the reverse auction and the COVID-19 pandemic hit their revenues hard. However, the industry now has bounced back since the pandemic, with their revenues more than doubling. Now let's talk about the order book, a key indicator of future growth. Now the wind sector has been buzzing with activity. This has significantly boosted the order books of both Suzlon and Inox. Now Inox Wind's current order book stands at 2,917 megawatt, up fourfold from 619 megawatt at the start of fiscal year 24. Now Suzlon, on the other hand, has an order book of 3,817 megawatt, which is 30% higher than last quarter. So both companies are seeing strong demand with their order books near lifetime highs. Now let's talk about the wind energy sector's operating profitability and performance. Now operating profitability, or how well companies turn their core operations into profit, is a key indicator. Overall, the wind energy industry has seen improvements in this area thanks to better order inflows and quicker project execution. This has also helped the operating margins to around 15 to 16%, a positive sign for the industry. When it comes to profit after tax, wind energy companies have had their fair shares of ups and downs. Some faced losses in earlier years but have recently shown signs of recovery. In fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25, we've seen companies bounce back into profitability, although the journey has been quite volatile. Now, lastly, looking at the debt, the wind energy sector has had fluctuating debt levels. However, recent efforts have been made to reduce debt, leading to significant improvements in balance sheets. Now, this shift signals that the industry is finally finding its financial footing again. Now, let's talk about what you have to keep in mind before investing in the wind energy sector. Now, first off, the renewable energy space is on fire right now. Globally, we've been seeing incredible growth, and India is no exception. Worldwide, renewable energy capacity grew by a whopping 50% year over year in 2023, hitting a record 507 gigawatts. Now, India, we've added over 100 gigawatts of renewable capacity in the last decade, bringing us about 190 gigawatt by fiscal 24. And we're also aiming for 500 gigawatt by 2030. So it's clear that the future is bright for the sector. Now, policy flip-flops have caused a few headaches, as we just discussed with you. Over the past decade, we've seen the government make a lot of changes which slow down wind power installation and hurt companies' finances. But recently, the policies have shifted in a bit better direction, and that's helped turn things around. Still, this is a heavily regulated space, so it's super important to keep an eye on any government moves. Now, competition in the wind energy space is pretty low right now because of these policy shifts and low volumes. Right now, only two big players, Suzlon and Inox Wind, are really doing end-to-end wind projects in India. Now, Suzlon holds a strong 32% market share, while Inox Wind holds 15%. Now, wind energy technology is evolving with improvements in turbine capacity, hub height, and rotor diameters. Now, companies that invest in R&D to upgrade their technology will be better positioned to capitalize on this growing sector. Now, older technology may struggle to remain competitive. Hence, we need to see if the companies in this space are keeping up with the technologies. Also, we must look closely at the financial health of wind energy companies, especially their debt levels. Historically, these companies have struggled with high leverage, leading to volatility in their stock prices. We must assess the order book, their revenue growth, their debt level, their profit margins to get a sense of the company's future potential. And we must also evaluate how the company is managing its operating leverage, as large wind projects often require high initial capital investment. Now, wind energy projects can be complex and take several years to complete. Delays due to land acquisition issues, government approvals, or even supply chain disruptions can significantly impact timelines and costs. For example, the wind energy sector was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused execution delays and labor shortage. Now, this shows the sector's vulnerability to external shocks. Now, coming to our final thoughts. Now, the opportunity in the wind stocks is immense, but like any investments, it comes with its own set of risks. By understanding the broader context, India's energy challenges, the government's focus on renewables, and the rapid growth in wind capacity, you'll be better equipped to make informed decisions. However, key is to remain vigilant. Keep an eye on sector trends, government policies, and most importantly, the financial health of the companies you're investing in. The renewable energy is undoubtedly the future, but ensuring that you're investing in the right company at the right price will be critical to your success in this space. Having said that, this is me, Merlin, signing off. Take care and stay invested.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.